Hey, and welcome to the Open Mic Podcast. On today's episode, we're going to be discussing digital marketing and the innovations around how product launches can be made and a whole host of other things. So the term digital marketing can be in many discussions, I think, overused and definitely misunderstood. Often, sort of clients feel confused about what can be seen as an intangible service, and they don't always appreciate what goes behind the campaigns that they see on TV, online, and on all those cyber mediums. Especially when they're are being expected to invest tens of thousands of pounds or dollars, to get that result. It's not very much like buying a tangible asset like a vehicle or a house or a property. A digital can be intangible, and what you do see on the screen is only maybe the tip of the iceberg behind what's below the waters. So for any business to make that investment, the need for clarity and process that demonstrates both a strong path to conversion and ROI is essential. Digital marketing requires many other dance partners, that I say, to perform and produce the results. I sometimes see, and I get asked a lot about, the over-promising that some agencies or individuals make. I think I've even sort of heard the term Wild West banded around when digital marketing comes to play, because it's an unregulated business. For those of you guys who follow my stuff on a regular basis, I came from a publicly traded operating board and a CEO of a finance company. So ultimately, I'm all about regulation. And to move into digital marketing, it's like, whoa, who's actually holding on to this and watching my back? But we're going to cover all these core topics and some more core associated partnership components, as I call them, to ensure that your digital marketing fires on all cylinders. And in today's episode of the Open Mic, I'm totally honored to be joined by Zeev Wexler from Wexler LLC.com, based out of the Washington, D.C. area. So thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule, Zeev, and joining us with your expertise today. It's great to have you on the show.
Mike, it's a pleasure. Thank you for having me on. I love what you do for people. I love how you share knowledge, and I'm honored to be here with you.
Oh, it's great. And I'm certainly looking forward to learning a little bit more about how, that sort of strategic and professional approach that you're doing at WexlerLLC.com. And, if you want to check out a little bit more about Zeev, you can head over to LinkedIn and you can check him out at linkedin.com/IN/Zeev Wexler, but that is spelled ZEEVWEXLER. So like Zeev Wexler, but Zeev Wexler. You can also go to WexlerLLC.com. And we're going to be speaking about how digital marketing can really sort of launch new innovative products. And Zeev's going to share with some awesome case studies about this super exciting product that I've just had the pleasure of looking at, which is sort of what we would call a natural air purifier. And you can find more about that at gobreathe.com. So that is GOBRETH.com. Go Breathe, so spelt gobreath.com, but gobreathe.com. Zeev's going to share some things there and how digital marketing come in. So I'd highly encourage you to go and check that out. If you're looking to improve the air purity in your office, by all means, go and check gobreath.com. And you can also go and support that on kickstarter.com as well. So, and a massive congratulations for bringing that to the market. It's certainly something innovative. And to give a little bit more about Zeev's background, you really start to sort of get into business with public relations and hospitality at the ripe old age of 16. And today, Zeev's got over 20 years of experience in sales, marketing, and strategic business, and has many successes and awards throughout his career, including being named one of LinkedIn's top 20 world experts. So there's no light accolade there. That's a pretty awesome achievement. And sort of Zeev always harnesses an ROI-focused approach to continually automate processes that have averaged his clients 34% yearly growth. So that's double-digit growth year on year, which is amazing just by itself. But I don't think I could do all the justice to the listeners, Zeev. So I think really handing over to you to tell us a little bit more about your career, fill in some of those blanks, and of course, let us just find out a little bit more about that Go Breathe opportunity that you're currently working on, which from what I've seen so far is absolutely amazing.
Thank you so much, Mike. I really appreciate all these great words, and I'll try to be as good as you, but it seems like you did a great job.
Oh, thank you.
So as you said, my name is Zeev Wexler, and I was born and raised in Israel. I came to the United States in the early 2000s. And a little bit like you, I built a financial company.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. I grew it really, really, really big. I've always been a salesperson, business development, a people's person. Always throughout my whole life, I thought this was going to be what I do always. And then my business got in a little trouble in 2007 and 8 for obvious reasons.
Yeah, global financial issues.
Global financial issues. I basically, in a span of a couple of days, I went from sushi and expensive wines to the dollar menu, which was a very interesting shift on my in my life.
Yep.
And I started understanding something. And it took me a few years to understand it. I started understanding that people are changing the way they're consuming information. People are changing the way they're making decisions. And if a salesperson used to be the most honorable job I used to think there was, today people go and buy things in spite of salespeople and not because of them. And that made me think a lot. Made me think about what can I do to do better and influence a better buying decision. The answer was I want to affect the client before they made a decision.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that clients come to salespeople after they make a decision. So that's where I made my shift to marketing early in the 2000s. I really understood that there's a different way to reach people.
And that was really innovative at that time. If you date that, 2000, just a slightly on or before the .com and things like that. So, a lot of people and a lot of the so-called gurus today, Zeev, they talk about this change of habits. But, if you date this, if you're listening back at some point, this recording's September 2018, we're talking 18 years ago, Facebook's 6 years away from even being invented. Twitter's 8 years away from being invented. .com's not really happened and bubble burst yet. So pretty innovative for that time, Zeev.
Very, but I wouldn't take all the credit because it took me till 2013 to really fully open up my agency.
Yeah.
So I dabbled in a lot of marketing. I learned, I've seen, I've really started understanding growth hacking. But really in 2013 was the first big year of me in marketing. So I may understood it in the early 2000s, but it took me about 12 years to make that happen.
But you probably, I think, and again, for all the listeners out there, I'd love to hear your thoughts about this and where you were at in your journey at the moment. I'm sure you had some bounces, as I call them, Zeev, there. You hit some walls, you bounced off, you picked yourself back up. And I don't really like to use the word failure because I think they're more learning experiences than failures. But I'm sure you hit the wall a few times throughout that period.
I've had so many failures, and I'd love to share some with you. I truly believe failure is a part of success.
Yeah,
you cannot succeed without failure. I'm actually working on a book right now. We'll see how long it's going to take me, but the concept of it is there is really no overnight success. There's no such thing. It does not exist. We look at things as overnight successes, but that comes after a couple of years of failures.
Yep.
Amazing people like Gary Vee, people think he just came to the scene and exploded. That gentleman worked so hard to make his message. And now it seems like it's all clicking for him. But that's because of all the hard work, all the failures, all the content he put out there. He has thousands of episodes out there, very similar to what you do.
Yep.
And, now everybody sees him as this, overnight success. So
you date that. I think one of the funniest things I remember listening to on one of the Gary Vee books was where he thought YouTube wasn't going to work and he switched and made an investment into the alternative platform. And he's going like, oh my God. And then he talks about how he was offered, I think either not twice, but 3 times an early adopter share in Uber, and he turned it down, and he looks at what that could, but he says, hey, I made that, at the time it wasn't right for me, so I can't look back and say, hey, if only, but he gets more right than he gets wrong, but he's bounced off the walls a few times as well, and credit to it, that is sheer graft and determination, and refusing to lie down, I think, with a hell of a lot of skill and researching as well, I think.
Yeah, and audacity. He came out there and he's not selling anything out there. He's just sharing his views, and people love that. So I salute you, Gary Vee, if you hear this.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I get a comment, and I'll tell you what I would like to do, and just to slightly off script, Zeev, here. For the listeners, if you want to send me a message on Twitter using the hashtag #TheOpenMic, I'd love to know what your views were. And if you want to share that publicly, we call them failures, but the learning experiences. How did you experience them? And ultimately, what did you do to bounce back? And what did you learn from it? I think is most. So what was your failure or your bounce? How did you bounce back, and what did you learn from it? And if you want to do that, I know Zeev is very keen to sort of connect with people and help people like I am. So you can connect with Zeev on LinkedIn. That's linkedin.com/IN/ZEEV Wexler. So Zeev Wexler. And I'm sure, Zeev, if anybody sends you a message, you'd love to sort of be able to help them and, maybe share some experiences from your side.
I promise I will respond to 100% of the messages sent. It might take me a couple of days, but I will respond to everybody. I love LinkedIn. I love my network on LinkedIn. I've created amazing relationships thanks to LinkedIn. So if you guys will reach out to me on LinkedIn, I will respond.
Yeah, listen, I really appreciate that. And that's an offer that, you should take, because to tap into Zeev's mind and some of the, not just the lows, because let's talk about it. We're going to talk a lot more about the successes as well and the strategies, but it's an awesome mind and an awesome resource. So thanks for contributing to the show on that, Zeev. It is greatly appreciated. So I think we talked about, 2013, your agency sort of started to click and you worked that out, and sort of just pick it back up from there for us, Zeev, if you would, please.
Sure. So in 2013, I got into marketing. And at that time, I was an expert in one thing and one thing only, which was marketing automation.
Yeah.
I was not an expert in anything else. Very quickly, I learned that marketing automation is incredible. And I still think it's the special sauce of a lot of success. But if you automate, and pardon my French, if you automate crap,
yeah,
that's really what you come up with.
Yeah.
So we really started understanding that people need a lot of help, and we built our agency based on our client needs.
Yeah.
So from a marketing automation shop, we started in 2013. We built a great creative team, a great tech team, an animation team. We're basically looked at all of what our clients want. If they wanted a web team, we build a web team, SEO, PPC, advertisements, and then we really got into growth hacking.
Yep.
I believe marketing has changed. I believe the marketing game of 10 years ago does not work anymore at all. It used to be, let's spend a bunch of money and get things visible. And there was no ROI. There was no tracking. You couldn't really figure out what you're doing. You can see if sales grow or not, but how do you know why?
Yeah.
That's something that bothered me. I used to not like marketing.
It's like the old Wanamaker saying, isn't it? That half of my marketing's working and the other half isn't, but I just don't know which, which is where you're at there.
Exactly. So I really wanted to create a marketing that has a direct ROI.
Yeah.
You invest $1,000 and you get what?
Yeah.
Okay. And we started building really mathematical equations about customer acquisition costs. It's amazing how many amazingly successful business people do not know their CAC.
Yeah.
They don't know how much it costs them to buy a client. Now, let me tell everybody out there, you all have a CAC.
Yeah.
Each and every one of you. It may be 1 cent, doubt it, but you all have one. And if you don't know how much it costs you to buy clients, you need to figure that out, because that's one of the most important figures in your business.
Yeah, absolutely. And just for those sort of early adopter listeners into digital, and maybe you've played a bit on social, played a bit on software. If you're not quite sure what a CAC is, CAC, cost of client acquisition cost, is we would translate that to. So how much have you got to spend to bring that customer to the business and then convert them into a revenue generating customer? And then you can go on to further things like lifetime value, LTV.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
Just to clear for the listeners, sometimes we get questions from people saying, "Hey, Mike, I thought that the podcast was great, but it seemed to be a little bit over my head. Could you dumb it down for some of our early adopters?" So I just wanted to jump in there, not to correct you, Zeev, but just to sort of, for the audience, there's loads of type of marketing metrics, and what we'll probably do, I've got a blog or something, or maybe a cheat sheet I'll put up about marketing metrics like LTV, lifetime value, CAC, cost of acquisition, things like that, and I'll do that as a download for the podcast later on as well, just in case there are any newbies out there who's getting a little bit confused about where we're at on the abbreviation. So sorry for cutting in there, Zeev. I just wanted to get that clear for the audience.
Absolutely. Let me throw another confusing term in there, and maybe you'll help me clear that one up as well. because there's so many things that people do not understand. So customer acquisition cost is major.
Yeah.
But also there's something that people don't understand that I call itch cycles.
Right.
Itch cycles. Every business has an itch cycle. Now, what do I mean by that? Your client turns around to buy your product and service every few months, weeks, years, days, depending on the product you're selling.
Yep.
But every product has an itch cycle.
It does.
So it's very, very important to understand, because you have to understand acquiring clients is hard, difficult, and expensive. But if anybody is your existing client, it is so much easier to convert him. So understand that people that buy a product from you should buy another product from you in a period of time. And usually that period of time, you can find that out.
Yeah.
And you really need to follow those itch cycles in order to get to that lifetime value. Because if not,
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, sir.
No, I was saying it's a brilliant example. Thank you for framing it that way. That I've scratched my leg, I've satisfied my needs, that instant gratification, but then it eventually comes back. Whether that's an automobile that you're buying and you change that every 3 or 4 years, and I get a lot of people, especially in and around the construction business, who say to me, Mike, I go and build an extension, and how can somebody else won't need another extension? Well, maybe that's not true, but they may need a conservatory put on the back of the house, or a sun terrace, or a new patio, or some garden re-landscaping, or they may want the kitchen diner knocking through and with building work. So you don't have to necessarily in this itch cycle, Zeev, do you replace the same product? It could be a cross-sell, an upsell, a combination, an associated purchase. But ultimately, there is usually 2 or 3 or 4 sales. And then, of course, if you do a great job, there's the referral into the next door neighbor or the family member as well. So even if you were sat there at home thinking, I sell a widget and they only ever buy one ever widget, I'd ask you to sort of look a little bit wider on that and say, what are the associated or upsell products? Like a roofing company could start to do guttering maintenance, or I think there's a great classic and American one out of the Dan Kennedy stuff, Zeev, that says, the guy who does, garden maintenance in the summer is doing cleaning gutters and roofs out in the winter, and when the autumn and the fall comes round. So, it's just a bit about diversification. And I think that sort of builds out on that itch strategy, not just for the same purchase, but potentially associated or, incremental sort of products and services as well.
I'll give you a live example of exactly what you're talking about. I have a client whom I love, and they are a chimney sweep company. Okay? Yeah. They sweep chimneys. It's a 40-year-old family business. It's called Rooftop Chimney Sweep. I love them. They're incredible and amazing. We started working together a few years ago, and they've been growing, and their leadership is amazing. People may laugh when they hear chimney sweep, but these are some of the most professional, top people I've ever met. Now, they came to us, and they wanted to create an additional line of income. They care about their employees. But for who of you that don't know, chimney sweep is a seasonal business.
Right.
People think about their chimney after the summer, starting September till Christmas. Yeah. That's when we're actually in that time, but that's where my chimney companies are extremely busy.
Yeah.
But then people don't think about their chimneys till after the summer. So they wanted to keep their employees, they wanted to keep growing, and we were looking at what we can do. They have the employees, they have the truck, they have the expertise. And fixing chimneys is not an easy thing. So what we did is we created another brand for them, and we called it Champion Dryer Vent. We did research, and we saw that the dryer vent cleaning people are usually a guy in a truck that looks and smells kind of odd, and you don't really want him in your house. So we've created Champion Dryer Vent Cleaning, and basically created a venue for them to create a couple more hundred of thousands of dollars. Wow. And keep those employees working when the chimneys are not. Exactly. Ever since that, we got so busy in the chimney, and they opened 3-4 new markets. So we kind of put Champion on the down low. We may even sell that brand right now.
Yeah.
But as we began, that was such a great way. They have the trucks, they have the people, they have the expertise. Now let them make another path of income.
No, absolutely. That's fantastic. So I think, Zev, I mean, you know, the history, talk to me about just a little about the LinkedIn Top 20 World Experts. How did that come about? 'Cause I think that's something that a lot of people ask me about, you know, how do I get to be that? Yeah.
I have no idea. I'll be very honest with you. I love LinkedIn. I'll tell you guys a joke. When I ran a car dealership back in the day, a lot of people, especially women, always offered me to join LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a dating site. I did. I thought it was a dating site. And it was years and years ago when LinkedIn just started. But I was like, no, thanks. I'm okay. I'm married.
Yeah.
And people looked at me funny, but I didn't understand. So about 6-7 years ago, I jumped on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the most amazing platform out there, period.
Yeah.
I'll say that again. LinkedIn is the most amazing network out there, period. There has never been a time, ever, that you can be on the same network as 70% of the millionaires on this planet.
Absolutely.
85% of the decision makers, 90% of the decision makers in DC, where I am, sit on LinkedIn.
Yep.
You and I are connected on LinkedIn.
Absolutely.
So LinkedIn is incredible. I really would suggest learn about LinkedIn. It's the most misunderstood network. It's not just for recruiting.
Yeah.
It's not, I don't use it at all. Well, I use it a little bit for recruiting, but maybe 5%.
Yeah.
I create relationships, clients, friends. I do business with so many people that I met on LinkedIn. I even have a startup I started that is all based on LinkedIn. It's called Link Boost.
Yeah.
I won't share too much about that, but LinkedIn is a powerhouse that if you are not attaching yourself to, you are missing out.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely, Zev. And we did a podcast with Matt Clark a few weeks ago where he actually did a session with me. And for those listening on the app, which, you know, whether it's Apple or Google Play, you know, or anything like that, you can also get these podcasts on, just search the Growth Engine channel on YouTube. And you can also get it at blog.thesuccessor.io. But we did a podcast and Matt actually did a live demonstration on the screen, because obviously with these podcasts, we record them as videos as well to repurpose the content, which from a digital marketing point of view, you should be repurposing all of your comments. Sorry, slightly off script there. But Matt Clark did it. And the title of the podcast, if you're looking, is How to Generate Leads on LinkedIn Without Doing Paid Ads. And Matt's strategy around that is pretty awesome. So you can go and check that out on the Open Mic podcast as well. So, but I fully endorse what you're saying, Zev. And yeah, there's so much stuff you can do. And, you know, like you say, if you're in B2B sales, you know, you don't have to hit the gatekeeper. And, you know, I'm not saying go and spam anybody and be respectful and offer value in advance, of course, but you can go straight past the gatekeeper, straight into somebody's inbox, no spam filters. And again, don't abuse it. Don't be that fool out there who's going to do that. But you can go there, and if you've got some value, you've got some information, or you can generally help something, you can go and hit the chief executive of the Inc. 500 companies, or if you're in the UK, the chief executive of the FTSE 100 companies. If that's your market, and you know you're a high-end individual like that, you know maybe you want to get them to do some financial investing or whatever, you can go straight to the horse's mouth. So I totally endorse that, Zev, all the way.
Now, there's something to remember here too. A lot of people come to me and say, oh, LinkedIn doesn't work for me. I try to reach out to this, that, and I never heard back. Reciprocity is the name of the game, okay? Yeah. You cannot not be on LinkedIn at all, not give anything from yourself, and then expect LinkedIn to just, you know, open its arms and give you everything they have.
Absolutely.
I do a lot of free content on LinkedIn. Okay, I don't charge a thing for it. I don't ask anything for it. I create really, at least in my humble opinion, really good content. I bring in experts and guests, just like you do in your podcast, just on LinkedIn videos. And we just sit down and talk. I just did a great one with a brilliant guy, founder of Exec Vision, a gentleman by the name of Steve Richard.
Yeah.
We're talking about giving tips for professionals who wants to sell, but don't consider themselves salespeople.
Yeah.
So one of the biggest tips, and I love that, and I do it even though I didn't realize it, is change your offering. You wanted to get me on, you offered me to come on a podcast. Of course, that goes to my ego and everything. So of course, that's an easy thing to say yes to. Same thing I did to Steve. I told him, hey, come do a video with me. Let's educate our crowd.
Yep.
I do that with all kinds of amazing business people. And all we do is we share and we give, and we get 10,000 views on these videos.
Yeah, absolutely.
Comments and likes. And at times We get clients from these.
Yep.
They just come and say, hey, I want you to help me do this.
Yeah, that's right. You're absolutely right. And, and again, I know there's a lot of people in their different cycles of the business. Some of you guys on the listeners are just getting started and you're thinking, hey, I can't afford to do all this stuff for free. But I'm telling you, you can't afford not to do it, because if you want to develop and you want to get out there, you can go chase wild goose chases and, start, whether it's cold calling or pestering people or attending network events that maybe don't always hit the spot for your right audiences. And there's merit in networking. I'm a big networker myself, a lot of give. But what Zeev is actually talking about here is getting out there, being good, sharing value, sharing your knowledge. And then ultimately, the way that, I don't want to cut into Zeev's sort of questioning too much yet, because we're going to get into that in a moment or two. But about that value in advance and sharing it and positioning yourself as an expert. The hours that we put in, just to give anybody who's interested in running a podcast show, we'll record only about 8 a month. But I've got 2 full-time people in my agency who's working on the open mic, connecting with influencers like Zeev, not bribing him, but because it comes up totally voluntary, and I must make that, but saying, hey, this is an opportunity for you. Because what does it do? It showcases Zeev's talent, it showcases our talent, and it gets out there. But why do we do this? Because it's just part of our marketing strategy and a part of sharing our knowledge and all the accumulation that we've got. And there might be, as Zeev said earlier, some become clients because they say, hey, I like what these guys say. These guys match my values. So, I'm asking you, if you put 30 minutes a day aside to maybe just write a LinkedIn Pulse article, write a blog, do just an educational 3-minute video about value. So instead of saying, hey, my name's X and I sell Y and my company's been in business 20 years, who cares? Just go out and say, hey, if you're struggling with this situation, hey, here's where I'm at, and here's this resource, and this may help you. Let me know if it works. And guess what? People are inherently lazy. And I'm not giving the farm away here, Zeev, but what I'm saying is, if you demonstrate your skills, and people are inherently lazy, so some people will take that advice on and do it themselves, but others will also say, do you know what, I'd much rather a professional do this for me, and I've got a little bit of budget, so hey, these guys have demonstrated to me they're great people, I'll reach out to Zeev or Mike or Matt or whatever it would be, and I'll make an inquiry to see if they're generally the real deal. And then, that's just part of a marketing strategy and awareness, top of funnel, or no difference to a radio ad or a TV ad saying, hey, are you interested in this or whatever it might be? But instead of just being disruptive, it's about value in advance without the expectation of anything in return. And that's my view on it.
I have an amazing story to share with you. This is an actual true story. Yeah. I think you mentioned Breathe and Go Breathe, which is one of the most exciting things I'm doing right now. I'll tell you how that came to be. Okay. I have a good friend. Okay. He has been a huge fan of what I do on LinkedIn.
Yep.
He has a good friend that wanted to bring this really incredible concept into more visibility. So about a couple of years ago, and you guys can actually check it out on LinkedIn, it's actually posted, I met Ray Greenstreet for the first time in my life in front of a live green wall.
Yep.
It was a meeting that's set up by a joint friend, and I just told him, hey, this looks really great. Let's do a little video. We use an iPhone and a gimbal. This was not a production. I didn't pay a video team, even though I have one, I can. But I took a couple of people with a gimbal and a phone. Okay, we went to the actual location of the green wall, and we did a couple of minutes of a green wall video. Ray explained exactly what a live active green wall does, how it cleans. I found it fascinating. The visuals were great. And about 10,000 people watched it on LinkedIn.
Wow.
It actually got maybe a couple of leads for an actual green wall.
Yeah.
Some CEOs, some partners in company just posted on the actual link. Can we have one? Can we talk? Which was incredible. Now, Ray, who at that time was a stranger to me, was so impressed. I didn't charge him a thing. I didn't ask him for a thing. We did a video. I posted it. I shared it, and it got to be watched 10,000 times.
Oh, amazing.
Then we started working together with Ray Greenstreet on his green walls concept. He also has garden stores.
Yeah.
About 8 months ago, he walks into my office with the ugliest cardboard you've ever seen. And he says, Zeev, I have an idea and I need your help. Basically, he took the concept of the green wall, which he has patents for, and it's incredible technology based on NASA research.
Wow.
And he made it into a desk product. Again, this was a cardboard box. And he told me, listen, we need to do this. Selling a live green wall, we do a lot of it, but it's, $100,000.
It's a big investment and a long extended sales process. Yeah.
Absolutely. Everybody that I sell this to asks me, what about putting this on my desk, in my house, in my child's room, dorm room, hotel, anywhere you can think of, office, of course. So for the last 6 months, we've been developing Breathe. Yeah. And Breathe came to me 100% because of a LinkedIn video.
Yep.
This is one of the biggest projects, and I would love all of you guys to go check it out. Go Breathe, GOBRETH, gobreathe.com. It is incredible. This is the best technology to naturally purify your air. There's never been anything like it. And it came to me because of a LinkedIn video.
Absolutely.
And I could not ask more.
Yeah, and I think there's a couple of key things. I mean, I don't want to talk the Breathe sort of point there. That's the product involved. But if you just break that down with the story, what Zeev's just shared with you, whether it was an impulsive video or a planned video, it was an iPhone on a gimbal, nothing major production, put out there, got out into the world with value, say, hey, first of all, foremost, the company obviously probably picked up one or two deals out of that, which may have been a couple $100,000. So, if you're saying you just currently can't get started with video, then, everybody's got an iPhone, and the capabilities of iPhones or Google phones, the camera quality is amazing. So just get out there and have a go at it. And secondly, because of that result, because we're all about results at the end of the day, and and give it. And because of that result, the clients come back to Zeev and said, hey, if you can do that for me with, and I don't mean this disrespectfully, Zeev, but just throwing that together without maybe doing a great deal of thinking, what can you do if we work a bit harder? So that's the opportunity to work with the green walls on a longer basis. So that's a bigger upsell and a bigger, what I call a bounce upwards up that way, a positive bounce. And then Zeev's being presented with this opportunity to get involved with gobreathe.com, which is going to revolutionize how air is going to be cleaned inside of the house. So, you talk about, you're saying you can't afford to give value out there. I'm challenging that you can't. And if sometimes on the shows, I have a bit of a rant and I go off script. So I sort of lay that challenge down to the listeners. If you're out there saying you do not have time, cut 30 minutes a day out TV, cut 15 minutes away off the gym, shorten your dog walk by 10 minutes, and go and reinvest and accumulate that hour or two a week and just go and produce some value and share your knowledge with the world. Because I'm telling you, if you do it consistently enough and you do it long enough, it will pay dividends multiple folds. I'm not going to guarantee you a 1x, a 10x, or a 30x like some of these online so-called gurus do, but you will get a return. But the issue is you've got to put the effort in, and you've got to do it consistently, and you've got to do it with quality, and ultimately it will come back. And that's a fantastic living case study and testimonial. So thanks for sharing that, Zeev. That's awesome.
With pleasure. And I'll shoot a little tip, because it is very difficult.
Yeah.
But document. Okay? You don't have to produce things. You don't have to spend $10,000s in production. Mike, if you would come here to my office, I would have one of my guys come in with a gimbal and just document some of the meeting.
Yeah, of course.
Okay? That doesn't cost me anything or time, maybe just a little bit of a disruption in the meeting, but I'm sure you will love that. So every time I bring those things on LinkedIn that I do, these are people that come to my office anyway.
Yeah.
These are people that we do business with anyways. Now, at times I do use it as a sales tactic. I will be honest. At times if I do want to go after someone, I will offer them to come do an interview with me, and 95% of the time they will say yes.
Yep.
But a lot of the times, for instance, this Friday I'm going to do a video, and it's with a lady that is coming for me for a meeting anyways, and we're going to take 15 minutes and record a little video.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the secret there, what Zeev's saying, is about documenting, because people sit there saying, hey, I've got a blank piece of paper, where do I start? Or I've got a video camera, where do you start? Don't think about creating, think about documenting. And then ultimately, there's great services out there like rev.com, that's rev.com. You can record it straight into an app on your iPhone if you just want to do the audio, and they'll transcribe it. And then there's a mini blog post available for you, or a LinkedIn Pulse article. You can use free tools like Canva or Snapper to do a little bit of graphic designed to drop that up there. If you're lucky enough, like Zev and myself, to have an agency where you've got full Adobe Creative Suite illustrators there, great, even better. But you don't need that. Canva's a free tool, Snap is a free tool, LinkedIn Pulse articles a free tool. Record it into Rev, turn it into a blog post. If you want to video it, you can video it. Quick tip here on rev.com, don't order the transcripts and the captions, order the captions, and then you can download them as a text file, a TXT file, and you can then convert that into a Word doc or a Google doc and then turn that into a blog post and only pay once. If you're unsure about how to do that, leave us a comment below on the videos or shoot us a message using the hashtag #TheOpenMic, and I'll sort of send you a resource on how to get that done. And, it's just simple things like that, documenting what you're already doing. And if there's value in it and it's not too salesy, although you can always do a tag on at the end, and sometimes we'll say, hey, if you like what you see, you'd like to learn out more, we're happy to give you a free hour's consult or half an hour's consult, then that's absolutely fine, because you're extending that value to find out if you could work with people a little bit more. So document is a great example, Zev. I really love that example, and thanks for sharing it.
With pleasure. And documenting is pictures too. Take pictures of you and your team.
Of course.
It doesn't even have to be on speaking engagement. Do it at lunch. We do a lot of education here. I do a lot of education for my team. A lot of my team they pull out a phone and they start documenting it, and at times we share it.
Yeah.
So understand that you do a lot of things of value, and if you just get in the habit of documenting, that'll be good. I have some of my team members have days that in that day for a couple of hours, they just go office to office and document what's going on.
Yeah, great work.
We have to create content.
Absolutely. And, for those of you who are saying content, what's content? Well, the internet wouldn't exist without content. It would be blank. Well, so content, simply dumbed down: video, pictures, stories, words, copies, infographics, you name it. That's what we're talking about from here. So, Zev, it's an amazing journey on that. Thanks for sharing.
Sure. I'll add something else about the social media. This is something the Bible taught me. Ask and you shall receive. If you are doing something on social media, ask for what you want. If you want comments, ask for them. If you want shares, ask for them. Don't just put things out there and just say, I hope you enjoy it. No, you really have to direct it. It's incredible. We did a video that all we asked for people was to comment. Don't like, don't share, just comment. We got hundreds of comments. It was, I think, the most commented post we've done. And there was no likes because we did not ask for them. Yeah. So it's very interesting. Be direct. Absolutely. Ask for what you want. Ask and you shall receive. If you don't ask, you will not receive.
Yeah, perfect advice. Perfect advice. So I think you get an idea of Zev's background and the amount of knowledge that he's got in, not just in growth hacking. We're going to get onto that in a moment, because I think that's the real sort of starting point with this. But as I say, if you want to learn more, you can go over to wexlerllc.com, and there's loads of resources on Zev's site. I would actively encourage you to go over there, see what it does. Obviously, follow Zev and his team on LinkedIn and on social channels. And, let me know how you go on. And, maybe you can share with Zev some of your stories as well. And he's already offered to sort of get those answers personally. It's not an automated system, or his team. It'll take time to look at those over a few days to come back to you. So I'd actively encourage you to do that. So thanks again, Zev. I really appreciate you sharing your journey, and it's seriously impressive resume. It certainly is. So for you guys who are serious about all what we've been talking about so far, we're going to share with you sort of 4 or 5 topics now about how you can sort of use some of these and bring these together to get an output. And this podcast is going to cover, the wider implications really that are going to need to be successful with digital. So again, Zev, we really appreciate you sharing it. So let's buckle up and let's get started into some of the details. So we've mentioned a couple of times earlier in the build-up, Zev, the term growth hacking. So, for anybody new to the show or just getting started, for some of you pros out there, you might say, hey, I do this all the time. But, as I try and cater for all audiences, the term and activities around growth hacking, Zev, tell us a little bit more.
Great. So I think growth hacking is one of the most misunderstood terms in marketing, and I don't meet too many people that understand it.
Yeah.
So I think growth hacker is the new job for what used to be the VP of marketing.
Yeah.
Okay. VP of marketing used to go through a lot of creative and then choose where to pay to post that. Okay. The game is completely different today. Completely different. It's not about what TV channel or newspaper you're going to do it. It's about where exactly is your target market, how they consume information, and how can you get to them through that.
Yeah.
So it can be very traditional, it can be very innovative. It just depends on your crowd. And I'll give a couple of examples. For instance, Mike, let's say you want to reach American millennial successful people.
Yep.
How do you do that?
Yep.
You only want to do millennials in metropolitan cities, and you only want to do people that make, let's say, 90, 100,000 K plus, people who are going places, millennials in metropolitan centers in the US. How would you reach them?
So is that a question? Are you putting me on the spot there?
It's a question. We'll talk about it. I'm not putting it on.
Cool. So, I mean, there's a million ways that, and there's, so many ways that you can sort of look at this, but it could be audience profiling on things like social media. So Facebook ads, audiences, you could do targeting, with data segmentation. You could look at Google Analytics targeting specific geographical areas, although, from that side. So LinkedIn, you could do, if you're using things like Sales Navigator, you could put that in there, although I'm not quite sure the income's in there on the nav thing, but you could certainly say, I want everybody with a title of director of, or, being in a job for over 5 years, or in this, aviation sector or whatever. So it's audience segmentation and profiling, and different platforms, whether it be LinkedIn, Facebook, Google, Instagram, all those mediums. And there is even technology in TV advertising now for demographic and geographical sort of stats that can do very audience related show stuff. So it can even go as far as pay-per-click in TV advertising to a degree, but that's just as a very broad subject. I'm not sure that's exactly what you want.
Love what you said, but growth hacking is looking outside of the box.
Yeah.
So research tells me that all the successful millennials in metropolitan cities in the United States use Ubers and Lyfts.
Yep.
Okay. So they are all using Uber and Lyfts, and they are captive during that ride.
Yep.
So I'm going to shout out a good
in the phone.
Yes. Now I'm going to shout out a good friend that we're doing a lot of business with this, and he's doing amazing. Cherry and Thomas. Yep. He started a company called Play Octopus. What he does is he positions screens in those Ubers and Lyfts. He positions a really exciting trivia game. Okay, now you're stuck in a Lyft or an Uber in traffic in DC, and there's a really cool, exciting, impressive trivia game in front of you. Are you going to play or not?
You're going to keep...
Probably.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're excited to do that.
There's a software that recognizes whether there's a person sitting in front of it or not. Now, there are geo-targeted commercials every 2 questions.
Yeah.
So let's say, for people who know the area here, there's a beautiful MGM casino that was built a couple of years ago. So every time you cross the bridge towards the casino, you'll get a casino ad. Okay, if it's here, some sports events or stores or restaurants, we work with MGM and with Disney, but we can actually have a captive audience.
Yeah.
Now, there's another secret to this. Do you guys know why, I'm sure you do, Mike, I don't know if about your listeners, but why Super Bowl commercials cost so much, or why the most expensive commercials on TV are on like Criminal Minds type shows, or shows that get your heart rate high? The reason is when your heart rate goes high, you are about 5 times more susceptible to commercials.
Yep.
So when people are playing this trivia game, their heart rate races. They want to win. They can even win money. And then the ad comes in, and it's actually a lot more susceptible. They don't understand it, but they are.
So taking the traditional options of segmentation and targeting, and then sort of really sort of looking outside of that box, using the screen in the Uber, cross the bridge in DC, the casino's on the right, that advert pops up, and they're getting multiple vision on the screen, on the outside of the window. And that's just one example you're demonstrating there.
Exactly. And we know that we can get to them. What are you going to do? Take your head out of the window? What options do you have? Now I'll go to the completely other side. I had a big church that moved, and they're awesome. They're a great client. And they wanted everybody in their new area to know they moved, and they didn't have enough money to do so.
Yeah.
So we really had to think outside of the box. So what we did is we chose a couple of cinemas. How often do you go to a cinema more than 2 miles away from your house?
Yeah, it's going to be fairly local, isn't it?
very local. So people that go to that cinema usually live in that area. Now, again, you're getting into a captive audience situation. When you come into the movies, you always come a little bit early, and you'll always be susceptible to what they're showing to you.
Yep.
Okay, we always remember the movies that are previews when we go to the movies. So putting an ad there for that new church, new location, and putting something very storytelling to get people kind of engaged in it, and then everybody in that area would know you're moving.
Yeah.
So one of them is very sophisticated, the other one is very old-fashioned, but that's growth hacking, understanding where your consumers are getting their information and getting to them there.
Yeah, it's amazing. And there's some fantastic examples. I just want to use one. I don't know if you have these in the States, Zeev. And it's not quite as fancy as a piece of software that recognizes if you're in the seat or crossing over the third bridge or anything. But here in the UK, on the gas pumps, the petrol pumps, you're captive, you're there, and there's an advert on the pump, and it's fuelnozzles.com or something or whatever, or adnozzles.com, I think it is, or .co.uk. And what are you doing? You're either looking at somebody else while they're pumping gas or fuel, or you're looking down to make sure what it is, or you're up at the screen and there's that. So they've got you in that same area. So it's not quite as technologically driven, but it's still a captive audience where they've got an advert in front of a set of eyeballs that's going nowhere, even if it's for 3 minutes while they pump the gas. So it's a lower version, but it's similar to what you're saying there. If you're an auto mechanic or a car body shop, or fed up with a scratch on your car and it's your neighbor's car looks better, ring or click this button or whatever it might be. And then there's adverts and leaflets inside the service station that you can pick up on the way out from what's on the ad nozzles that you see. So that'll eventually drive that online, no doubt.
So yes and no. Yes, you're absolutely right. No is there's no targeting in that. Everybody needs fuel. Okay. Yeah. How many times a 60-year-old goes in an Uber? That doesn't happen too often. So, I agree with you 100%, and that's a great demonstration of upstream marketing.
Yes.
But when you kind of dial it in a little bit more, it becomes even downstream marketing.
Yeah.
We have things on these Ubers and Lyfts applications that people can actually put their phone number and we'll connect with them.
Yeah.
They'll sign up for some free something. So we know who the people are. It's going to be amazing if Uber or Lyft ever buys it out, and then we can really close a loop, and then we know exactly who the user is. Yeah. So in today's world, there's more and more segmentations, and you can really figure out. But you cannot let go of the traditional. People have done business a lot before us. There is a lot of great things we can learn. So I love saying you need to use all the technology, all the cutting edge, but don't forget it comes with a handshake, with a traditional handshake in the end. People sell to people.
Absolutely. So I really appreciate that example, and I think it certainly gets to you're thinking what else is there, and also where you've been exposed to that yourself, and because sometimes you think that you don't always realize you've been through that process until you've been through that, and it comes out of stuff like that. So that's pretty awesome. So tell me, Zeev, about the importance around social selling, and I know we've touched on LinkedIn earlier, but I think that social selling part, and especially on LinkedIn, is something that I think could be a good follow-on discussion here. Just sort of share me your thoughts around that.
So we have an opportunity today. Social media has become as strong as TV, much stronger than radio and newspaper. So there is a platform out there for us to grow. There's never been anything like that. People have built their whole careers around social media. Yeah. People that are today some of the most successful people in the world just grew out of social media. And if you build a following and a tribe, this is the most powerful thing you can do. And you can only do that if you give them value.
Absolutely.
So if you're not in the social game, you're behind the 8 ball. It hurts your SEO. It hurts anybody that looks at you and tries to find out what you do. So if you don't do it, you're behind the curveball. If you do it, you're okay, but now you got to start thinking about video content and giving. And my advice to you, don't sell too much. Give, okay? Just give. And anybody who's afraid of giving because nobody's going to work with them, get that fear, and toss it to the garbage. Because if you know what you're doing, people love to deal with experts.
Yep.
I fire clients on a monthly basis. If a client doesn't do what I tell them to do, he's out because it's my reputation. If you want to work with someone and not hear what he's doing, that's someone else. If you want to work with me, you got to listen to what you're paying for.
It's that trusted advisor status, isn't it, as well? You know, that and we have it here at the Success Hub in our agency. And, you know, we've made some seismic shifts over the last couple of years. And none so more than transferring our entire model onto the HubSpot inbound methodology. And it's right or wrong, you know, and I'm happy for people to sort of shoot me a message on the hashtag the open mic and have a debate with that. Oh, I hated HubSpot or whatever. But forget the software. It's just a tool at this stage, whether it's Infusionsoft, great tool, you know, ActiveCampaign, great tool, you know, Salesforce, great tool, Pardo, doesn't really matter. I'm talking about the methodology of inbound and how that works. And we went out of Boston last year for the inbound conference there. And just to sort of be in and around that, and it was such an eye-opener, having, you know, moved into that community early to 2017, and that about that value, and just understanding how the people buy. And we made some seismic shifts on that. And the biggest challenge that I've had with some of our clients is to get them to understand that it's a full service that you need to be doing. You mentioned earlier the SEO, you mentioned about the video, you mentioned about the social value, and then maybe whether you want to do a podcast like we do, or you know you're not sure how to get started, but if you're not, send me a message on and shoot us a message. I'll share you a free resource on how to get started. You know, the top 8 things you need to do to get started with a podcast on a low budget, if that's what you want to do. That's pretty awesome. But ultimately, there's so many different connected pieces, you know, then the web, the position of the call to actions, you know, are you getting somebody to manage your paid campaigns, your Google or your Instagram campaigns? Then obviously who's watching those to optimize, see if they're working and not burning your budgets? What's the best images to use, the graphic design? Do I put raw content out, or do I put produced content out there? All the way then through to analytics. And, you know, a lot of people are saying, hey, I just don't have the budget, but you know, you're spending and wasting money in so many other areas. You know, to get it to connected and work together is the key factor. And that's one of the challenges that we've had, is trying to get to people. Look, I know you've not been doing that before, but it's something that you need to do as the market moves to compete. And I think I don't think an ignorance. I just think it's just, you know, certainly in the UK, the government's not doing enough to support small and medium businesses to, you know, with grants and things like that, to get experts and trusted advisors in, because we're not after overcharging you. We're not after making a fast buck. What we are here to say, hey, if you want to get results, you have to find that budget, whether that's with us or somebody else, or train up internally, maybe part export, outsource some skills that you don't have yourself, but then take someone internally if you've got competency there. But either way, there's 7 or 8 or 9 things minimum that you should be doing on a regular basis. And without it, you're probably going to end up with results in the can, or lower down. And, you know, you can't afford not to do it right. So just give that some thought. And again, I'm happy to have a debate with you. If you guys think you can do, you know, 1 or 2 points well, and then just get awesome results, you know, I'm happy to understand that business model with you and debate it out. But ultimately, what Zeev's saying is about the trusted advisor, this expert. You know, we're not here to say, hey, you need to buy this and buy that and this software and this service because we're trying to make a fast buck. You know, our reputations are pretty important. And, you know, when we get our clients out there delivering results, then ultimately, I had a conversation with a client about a membership site this morning. And I said to them, look, you know, this membership site, it's got to look better. We've got to get this design better. It's not right. I'm not trying to upsell you. It's part of your package anyway. But, you know, when it goes out, that's got our name on it. Well, it doesn't have our name on it, but people know we've done it. And I don't want that to look bad. I want your membership site to look absolutely the best it can possibly do with the technology, the resources, and budget that we have. And I want to make it look amazing. So let's put the work in because we care. And I think that's the key factor of it, isn't it, Zeev? And I don't know what your thoughts about some of the clients who don't buy into that methodology, you know.
I'm going to give you a twofold answer. First of all, to your first point, I think budget is a cop-out. Budget has nothing to do with it. Yep. You know, people are just afraid of public speaking. People are afraid of that. It says that people are more afraid of that than death. You and I don't have that bug, or maybe we overcame it over the years. But people are afraid. They're afraid of what other people are going to think about them. Yeah. Okay, I'm not strong on Facebook. Yeah. Never been strong on Facebook, but I have presence on Facebook. And when I do a LinkedIn video, I'll share it on Facebook too. Of course. Okay, so it doesn't mean that you know, Facebook is going to bring me everything, but it just means that I'm not missing out on the opportunity. Yeah. And you'll be amazed how much people see your stuff on social media and they don't comment and they don't like. I'm Israeli. When I go back to Israel, I get accepted like a celebrity because people look at all the stuff I do on social media and they think I own the world. That is not the case. I do not own the world, but it's a persona on social media.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. Even the people that don't like, don't comment, they're affected. So don't use budget. What you and I are doing right now, Mike, doesn't cost much.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm not even shaved. So just be out there, give out what you can, and don't really worry about what people think about you.
Awesome.
Then let's talk about the other thing, which is one of my biggest pet peeves. Companies are so blind to the right way of doing digital marketing.
Yep.
They look at the cheapest solutions, and they do what I call vectors. Yeah. They send this company in India a couple of $100 a month to do their SEO. They don't even know their market, but heck, they'll do their SEO, right? They'll send another company to manage their PPC. Again, they don't know the market, but they're going to manage the PPC, right? Then they do another, they go to Fiverr or some cheap thing, and they create a video that looks like was made in the 80s. And their image now is that they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Then they go to a Wix, and they put together a site that could not convert. And then they spend overall a bunch of money for something that does not work.
Yep.
Because there's no quarterback, there's no offensive coordinator. I'll use some American football terms. There's no playmaker on the team. There's a bunch of stars that are not connected. They don't know. Some of them are not even stars, but hey, they're not connected. They don't know what they're doing. We go into companies, and when we do the audit of what's going on, I get sick.
Yeah.
Okay. They get charged thousands of dollars for bull. Okay. Complete nothing. Yeah. I just sat with an amazing lady. She runs a couple of dentistries with her husband. They're charged, I don't know, $2,500 each month per website on SEO, which is not being done. Now, they don't know that, but I can check. I see that 100% of the traffic on their site comes when people actually know them already.
Yeah, so
I can see that SEO is not working for them. I can see that PPC is not working for them. So really, understand what you want to do, and don't just hire the cheapest person, and don't hire. I'll tell you a story. Startup reached out to me.
Yep. And
they're planning this really cool. I didn't see everything. We're just signing NDAs right now, but seems like an amazing IP, intellectual property.
Yep.
Geographically based social media, something really cool. I can't say too much about it. And then I asked them, where do you guys want to launch? Yeah. And they told me we want to launch in the UK. And I told them, why are you calling me? Okay. I'm a marketing expert, but I live in the US. My market is the US. Do I work with the UK? Yes. But if you want to launch in a market, talk to an expert on that market. Do I know the difference between Liverpool and Manchester United marketing? Liverpool and Manchester, the difference in demographics? No. Do I have to learn all of that? Yes. So go for a British, UK-based marketing firm.
Yeah.
And I told them that. I told them I'll look at the project. I'll tell you what you think, but you should not hire me to do a marketing in a market that I'm not in.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great. And people respect you more for being honest as well, because they say, hey, this guy's actually turning my money down because he wants the best for me. And that can just only elevate the credibility and authority anyway.
I have another story about that. Sorry, I'm full of stories. But I had an app that reached out to me. They were in the middle of a Kickstarter campaign. They were this navigation motorcycle app. And the campaign was not doing very well at all. And they came to me in the middle of the campaign. They did every mistake possible. Like they had no idea what they were doing. We got in. We made the campaign somewhat successful. At least they got to their goals. And then they were so impressed. They told us, all right, we want to move to you guys. We need to get hundreds of thousands of downloads, blah, blah, blah. We want to work with you guys.
Yeah.
We said, okay, you want to work with us? First, you need to pay a strategy. And we need to do an audit, and we don't work with you without it. It was hard for him to do, but paid the money, and we did it.
Yeah.
Then we told him that first thing we need to do is to improve the app. He was not having it. He's like, no, the app is great. It's perfect. We're like, listen, it's not. Yeah. We ran it against other apps that are better, and people like those features. And we can make your app better, but it's not there yet.
Yeah.
So we told him the first thing is the first couple of months, we really need to improve your UI, UX. We really need to improve the app. And he said, no. We're going ads right away. And I said, well, good. Go to someone else. He's like, what do you mean? I'm going to go give the money now to the Dutch company. I was like, perfect. Go to the Dutch company. They know a lot about the US market.
Yeah.
And I just sent him away. And he was so surprised.
Yeah.
And I just told him, hey, I'll help you. I'll support. I'll like it. I'll share. I'll do a LinkedIn video with you. But I'm not interested in taking this project because you're not interested in listening to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
And people respect you so much when you do that.
Yeah.
And they will want to work with you again. And even if they don't, they will send other people to work with you again.
That's a big thing, and the amount of people who have not actually worked with us, who actually say, hey, go and speak to Mike or whatever. I've not worked with him, but I know he does good stuff in his team and whatever for that. You pick business up. And it's amazing. And what we do, and if you sat out there and again, you're established, you're just getting started, you're a high level delivery, but you want to improve your sales team or whatever it might be. I always try and look at it like the diagnose, consult, prescribe, or the consult, diagnose, prescribe, should I say, examples of, which is, you go to the doctor or the clinic and they're going to give you a consultation. Then they're going to diagnose and he's going to feel around, get you to stick your tongue out, say, shine a torch in your eye. And he's having a feel around, he's asking you questions, and that's that diagnosis coming. And then eventually he's going to write you a prescription for you to take to the pharmacy to cash in, or he's going to recommend that you get some, blood tests or an X-ray or a CT scan done or whatever it might be. Why, there's a great saying in the UK, I don't know if you have it in the US, Zev, but it's like, why have a dog and bark yourself? And, at the end of the day, what we're actually saying here is that if you come into the marketing experts and the consultants, we spend hundreds and hundreds of thousands of pounds or dollars investing in training, systems, knowledge, strategies, just to keep ahead, because, no doubt Zev will cover this later on in the podcast, but, the digital world and the marketing world moves so fast. If you're not actually moving forward, you're actually going backwards, because, it just keeps up. And, we probably, our team here, we put, hundreds of hours a month, 25, 26, 27 people in our team, internally, externally. There's hundreds of hours of personal development, self-study, looking at the latest strategies and testing this stuff, but it works. And when we're saying, like Zev's saying, hey, your app sucks, or it may not suck, but it certainly wants to got some missing features or whatever, we're not doing that because we want to charge you extra few dollars to fix that or whatever it might be. We're saying it because that's going to give you the best possible chance to get the goals. One thing I want to talk about social selling on LinkedIn, and just in general, slightly off script, Zev, if you don't mind, but make sure your social media goals are aligned to your business goals. Because if they're not, if you've got a business goal to achieve, I've done a what we call a discovery call early on in the middle of the funnel sort of stage for one of our inbound retainers with HubSpot. And this particular company is doing about 800,000 or 900,000, so it's about $1.3 million, Zev, and wants to put 300,000 on there, so about 1.15 million, so about 1.5, so about a 25-30% uplift. And that conversation, I won't give that away from anybody for confidentiality, but that conversation's going. So we went through it all. Hey, you want to lift up 30% on your business. What are you doing about that? How are you going to achieve it? What's your plans to achieve it? And also, what budget have you got to invest in that? And, when you break it down and take it down, they didn't want to invest a lot of money, but they expect a 30% bounce on the top line. And that number's a need to have. It's not even a nice to have. So if you miss it by 20%, where are you at? You forget about growing. You need to do some serious cost cutting and pull it back a little bit and maybe refocus. And it's as if people are just detached from the retinas and their eyes are running around the head sometimes. I don't mean to be disrespectful to that particular client, because he was an ex-client of mine who's coming back to work with us again because he's got to that next level. I love that company to death, but it's sometimes we've got to be honest with you, and we've got to sit down with you in digital and saying, look, if you want a result, you either need to do this or you need to do that. And if it's this, we're in and we can help and support you because we can put our name against it. But if it's not, then hey, you may be better going somewhere else and parking it. So that's not ego. That's not arrogance. That's not saying, hey, don't work with us and we're going to fire you just for fun. That's because we are the experts and we're asking you to listen and take advice. And we take a lot of time to sort of position that. And without it, you're really, really, going down the wrong road. And I don't know what percentage you get, Zev, but when you get that, I think 50-60% of our people understand it and appreciate it and come on board. The 40% that don't, either they're just never going to do that and you've disqualified them, or they're just generally restricted for some other reason, and maybe they've got the desire and it comes back later. I don't know what your stats look like around that.
So we average, with a company that works retainer-wise with us for a year, we average growth of 34%, and we're tremendously proud of it.
Yeah.
Now, we work with big companies. We don't move 34. We worked with, Hitachi Data Systems and Toshiba and Walmart, and we didn't move those guys 34%.
No, of course.
But there are companies that we moved a whole lot more. We average 34%, but marketing takes time. Yeah. The first 6 months, we don't move the needle that much. That time, we need to build. Yeah. We need to create a lot of things. But if you are religious about your marketing, you can get 20, 30, 40% growth. It's going to be painful. When we bring clients on, we have 3 questions. And this sounds funny. One is, do you have a good product or a good service? Because if you don't, we're not going to help you.
Yeah.
It's not going to work well for you. If your product or service sucks, we're just going to flush problems. Yeah. So that's one. Second, do you really want to grow? Again, sounds stupid, but I'm looking for clients that really want to grow. Really want to grow means you're going to need to do things you haven't done before.
Yep. Feel comfortable.
Absolutely. My job in this world for my team, for my clients, is get them out of their comfort zone.
Yep.
Do new things and let's figure out what works. And number 3 is, do you understand that growth is painful? And we're going to go through some pain together.
And some challenge.
Now I'm good with pain, and I'll hold your hands and we'll talk about it. But there is going to be pain involved with growth. Whoever thinks pain does not involve with growth has never grown.
Absolutely.
It just does not come without pain. So when my clients understand that, hey, we need to change a lot of things and it's going to be painful, but we're in this together, that's what we do really, really, really great. And that's where we average these really great growth, benchmarks. And we're very proud of them.
Yeah.
I do amazing work. Thank you. I do amazing work with a segment I never thought I would, home services. Right. I gave you guys the example of the chimney sweeps, some cleaning, I got a moving company come in here. Great guys, a growing moving company. They're growing pretty nicely because one of their major competitors got closed recently. And they came in, they want to grow. And I asked them, so how much do you expect to get, return on investment? And they're like, 10x. I'm like, okay. How much do you do now? They're like, 10x. I was like, well, gentlemen, I think you should leave because, hey, you're the best marketers I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And, expecting to get 10x, not going to happen. Now, they have some very silly way of doing their math and, showing that 10x, which is completely ridiculous. But if a client comes in here and they want something that is impossible, I'll just send them away. Because, how can you expect 10x? You want me to make $10 out of every dollar you give me? Then everybody in the freaking world would be running to work with me.
Yeah, you'd have a queue all the way down, the main street, wouldn't you? And, you'd just, even Google, or, there's still some people who search Bing and Yahoo, but even Google don't have that dominance. Apple and, all those sort of things. Nobody can do 10x, all the time. It's just not possible. And if you think you're doing it, you just don't know how to read numbers. Delusional. So I suppose that's a great sort of segue in, Zev, to talk about the relationship between sales and marketing, and maybe just give us a quick short version of that. Well, people sort of say, sales and marketing are 2 different things. Well, is that a more of a blurred line these days as they connect together with the closed loop stuff we talked about earlier? So just give us your view on the relationship between sales and marketing.
Would love to. Yeah. In my humble opinion, and I may be wrong, sales and marketing is one circle.
Yep.
It's just 2 halves of one circle.
Correct.
One of my pet peeves in business, especially since I moved to the States, was sales and marketing hate each other here. I don't know how it is, how it is over there, Mike.
Yeah, exactly the same.
They hate each other. Salespeople hate marketers. Marketers hate salespeople. Marketers do things that do not help the salespeople. Salespeople do things that do not help the marketers. And it's just such a bad loop. We do marketing that is 100% to support sales.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm a salesperson, 100%. If you don't sell, nothing happens.
Yeah.
So marketing should support sales, and then sales should support marketing.
Yep.
Okay. So the easiest thing to market is the people that you've already sold to. So sales and marketing should be one tight, beautiful loop. That goes again and again and again and again. Unfortunately, in 95% of the cases that I've seen, it does not work that way.
No, absolutely.
Now, thank you. Something very interesting in marketing that is happening recently is finally marketers have quotas. Finally, marketers need to prove something. A couple of years back, I did a beautiful thing with an amazing big company. I wouldn't mention their name. And we work directly with their marketing. They spend $50,000 on this, $50,000 on that. And we've created amazing leads and funnels. And we got paid and everybody was happy and we got accolades for all the great job we did. 6 months later, I reached out to that company and I said, well, how many sales? 0. What? How? Nobody called these people. The sales department basically ignored the efforts of the marketing department. Okay, but there's no, the marketing department did what they were supposed to do, a mess. And I told them, guys, this is horrible. Like, I wouldn't want to work with you again.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's just bizarre, isn't it? I mean, again, just referencing what we're doing more in the HubSpot arena at the moment, Zeev, is they talk about a closed loop exactly with where they give marketing a quota. So if you're a marketing exec listening to this and saying, I don't have a quota. Well, yeah, you do, because whether it's the traffic quota, then you obviously take it down to the qualified marketing leads, the MQLs as we call it, then the sales qualified leads. And if sales need to get, 100 leads to convert 30, and each of those leads are worth £1,000, $1,000, then that's £30,000. Then your quota is 3x of that. So you've got a 300,000, apologies. I do apologize. My math's pretty bad today. So if you've got 30 sales at 1,000, that's 30,000, and you've got a 1 in 3 close rate. Then the marketing quota is $90,000 in marketing qualified leads for the sales team. So you need to put a financial value onto the marketing element of the lead. So both the marketing director or marketing manager or VP has bought in, and then literally the sales and the marketing seniority are working together. You get me the specific type of marketing qualified leads to this segment in this profile, and you get me 90 of those of that type of quality, then I'm convinced or confident that my sales team can knock over 30 of them at 1 in 3. Then, if the sales target's 30K or 300K or 3 million a month or whatever the scale of your business is, then in your 1 in 3 close rate, then as that marketing comes down, it's either 90K, 900K or £9 million worth of marketing qualified leads. And that's what we're talking about. So, again, if you're struggling to understand that concept, you can head over to the HubSpot.com blog or blog.hubspot.com. I'll post a link. I've just made a note of this about closed loop as well with that relationship. And there's some great little resources around that sort of explain that in a little more detail. And again, you can shoot us a message at #TheOpenMic, and again, I'll be more than happy to do that. If you feel, as always, with any of these that you don't want to sort of air your problems publicly, shoot me a message on LinkedIn. Just search Mike Midgley. And again, send me a private message on there and I'll take it offline and, we either will set up a call or I'll just answer that for you in a private message. So I'm happy to do that. So I think that's a great example, Zeev, from your side, and about how you can generate it, but the disconnect between sales and marketing is costing businesses millions of pounds and trillions of dollars and pounds globally with missed opportunity. And often then the sales guys say, hey, the leads marketing senders are rubbish. And then, marketing saying, hey, we're sending the leads like you've got an actual example here, and they don't do anything with them. And there's that friction. And in the auto industry, you'll appreciate what I'm going to say. I used to work in a finance company. I owned a finance company before we floated it, and in wheeled assets. So we used to work with a lot of dealers. But in the auto dealers, I'm sure it's the same in the States, the service department hate the sales department hate the service department, and it's like that sales and marketing relationship. It just goes sour. And, if you've got a success story as well about how you've done closed loop, we're getting the sales and the marketing, again, we'd love to hear that result and we'll get that.
Sure. I actually used to be I was a general sales manager of a dealership, so I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. But this is very, very, very interesting. Marketing automation is the solution for this.
Yeah.
That's why marketing automation was the first area of marketing I really threw myself in. Yeah. Now, this has a little bit to do with AI, artificial intelligence, a little bit with machine learning, but we devise marketing campaigns that basically take over the salesperson for about 80% of that campaign. And only when it's time for the salesperson to actually do something that only the salesperson can do, we connect the dots.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have algorithms that are running, and we basically have automated salespeople, sometimes marketing, sometimes sales, sometimes both, actually answering, running, doing everything that we need in the automation. And then we have algorithms that rank how important these people are, how close they are to a sale, and then connect them with the actual salesperson when he gets everything. This is what you have done with a client, even though you haven't done anything.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. There's a bit like a lead scoring, and based on their interactive, it's getting hotter or colder, or relative for a speed. It's worth our sales team's time to get in, which means what's coming through is super qualified.
And we do that a different algorithm to every client. You and I might have completely different benchmarks in what we want and what's important for us. So we write these algorithms to every client. Yeah. And then it really starts to work. Then you start seeing the connection between sales and marketing, and you start making them work together.
Yeah.
We actually go there and we talk to them and we help them create the right habits. Interpersonal relationships are big problems inside businesses. At times, all you got to do is just improve the communication between the head of sales and head of marketing, and you'll have 10% more sales.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great example. Thank you. So talk to me about how to adapt to what I'd call innovative, negotiation, if that's the word. And I think that, I'd like you to explain what you mean about that in a bit more detail first, Zeev, and then sort of expand on that. So how to adapt, how can companies adapt to that sort of innovative sort of negotiation process?
So basically, companies need to understand that we're playing in a different ball field.
Yep.
What we did 15 years ago cannot work today because we're just playing on a different surface.
Yep.
And most companies, especially the big ones, have not realized that yet. Yeah. So, with social media and everything we've talked about, the game is just completely different. So you need to negotiate differently. Right now, have you noticed that there's so many more decision makers out there? Right? Within companies, half of the people are decision makers. One thing I've learned in order to really grow my business is I need supporters in the other organization.
Yeah.
So let's say, Mike, I was trying to get, the Success Hub as a client.
Yeah.
And you and I are friends, and I'm trying to sell this to you, but I will pinpoint a couple of people inside your organization that you trust, that are brilliant, and I will try to make them the cheerleader of me inside your organization.
Yeah.
Okay, and those things are crucial for negotiations today. We do campaigns that we target messaging for the decision makers, and then we target message their team with a completely different thing. If we're going to go and present an app to a decision maker, I'll make sure their entire team has a free download of that, and they get some prize or something before that happens, so they all can say, "Oh yeah, I have it on my phone in the middle of my meeting."
Absolutely.
So you really need to help the needle. Okay, you really need to create those coincidences.
Yep.
Actually, that's what I think marketing is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Marketing is creating, managing, and dealing with coincidences that are not really coincidences.
Absolutely. Manufacture them into that sort of, not when I use the word manipulation, I don't mean that in a disrespectful or a dishonest way, but you manipulate it. And, we use it in the UK a lot, the decision maker and the influencer. Like you say, one strategy that we use, and again, I'm happy to share this. We're not trying to trick anybody. We're hunting down a particular prospect by providing value and going through a structured process to make sure that we can help. Yeah, we'll also identify a couple, maybe the sales manager in that department or the finance director, and we'll drop different pieces of content into them. Because if I could split myself into three, if you think about this as the audience, I could split myself into three. And I'm in the middle, I'm hitting the CEO and I'm addressing market share and competitive analysis stuff and things like that. Well, if I could split my right side and look at what the FD's looking at, he's thinking, well, how is this going to burn cash? How quick will the return on investment come in? So doesn't it make sense to create some content around addressing the concerns of the FD around, ultimately, showing a return on investment or how we can contain cash burn until we get to this point? And then if I'm dealing with the HR director or the sales director on the left-hand side, I might be talking about how this product or service I'm selling is going to benefit the staff or improve the sales guy. So 3 different people, all sort of decision makers, like Zev's saying here, but all getting around maybe a board table to make an ultimate decision. And how many times, for you guys who are, there's a lot of our listeners who are in CXO levels, CTO, CEO, CFO sort of level, or MD level, sales director level. You're all around a board table, somebody propositions something on a board report, and then what happens is you get an objection from the finance director, but how is that going to burn cash? And their issues have been missed. And if you can target that with marketing with specific messages, then you could say, hey, well, I've looked at this and I've got some numbers here already, or the HR director, the sales director, the CEO, the ops director, whoever you're hitting. If you've always addressed it with multi-messages, then your conversion path's going to be a lot better. And I think that's what you're talking about too, some sort of similarities there, Zev, isn't it? About, addressing those individual concerns or influences in the business to ultimately champion the decision out of the ultimate person who allocates the budget.
100%. You have to have a couple of different sets of messages, a couple of different, you need to understand who cares about what. Whatever you're trying to do in life, let's take the funniest example, dating, right?
Yeah.
You're trying to sell yourself to that other person based on what that other person wants.
Yeah.
You need to do the same thing in sales. So if the HR manager cares about X, the head of sales cares about Y, and the CEO cares about X, Y, and Z, then you have to tailor the messages to each and every one of them.
Yep.
The HR manager doesn't care about what the sales manager cares about, but you got to address them both. You got to make sure she knows that she's taken care of and he knows. And these are 2 completely different messages.
Absolutely.
So you have to understand there's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sometimes people you need to convince in this new negotiation process. And you got to excite them. When you're away, you want them to sing your praise. You want them to say, hey, when are we calling Wexler again? We love the presentation, this, that, and this. You got to continuously create these, what we talked about, coincidences.
Yeah.
Something popping of that really makes sales. And then in the end of the day, this is a truth that has not changed in 5,000 years, I don't think. People like to do business with people that they like.
Absolutely.
That they could see as friends. And another thing, that make them laugh. Don't be afraid to make your clients laugh. Yeah. I'm a very serious guy. I do talks, and at times, I have my blinders, but I can be funny with my clients. I can be friends with my clients. And when that happens, and what we talked about, the trusted advisor, yeah. My clients come to me with problems that are completely outside of the realm of what we're doing.
Yeah.
Okay. My clients come to me with projects, this breathe thing that we're talking about. That's because we won the trust of that client, and he brought it in as like, wow, what can we do with this together? Yeah. And that's what I love.
Awesome. That's brilliant. And thanks for sharing that, Zev. It's so right. I 100% agree with you there. And I think the cutting edge innovation with the old fashioned handshake, you mentioned it right at the beginning of the podcast, but I'd like to bring it back to as we wrap out on this podcast as the last point. We can, I know you did touch on it, but I think it's worth just segmenting out as a specific area. We talk about all the digital marketing and the tech, but that old-fashioned handshake, just share some experiences and your thoughts around that, just so we can connect the dots there.
With pleasure. So we have to use everything in our disposal today. Social media, social selling, video, animation, tracking, code, yada, 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 yada. In the end of the day, people sell to people. Even millennials, right? People sell to people. So use everything, every technology, everything that gives you an advantage on the tech field, but don't forget to make that call in the end. Don't forget to ask. I said that in the podcast before. Ask and you shall receive.
Absolutely.
So I sent 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 emails about Breathe to people.
Yeah.
Some of them did something about it. I called 100 people, 80 of them bought it, right? So it's the ask. It's the put everything out there. Make sure they know what you're talking about. Make sure they respect you. They see the process. They see the results. But in the end of the day, look at your client's eye and say, hey, let's increase that budget to $10,000 and see how we can grow this company.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we use the terminology B2B, B2C, and I know most, if not all the listeners will understand that, but just for clarity, B2B, business to business sales, B2C, business to consumer, or B2R, business to retail, if you're in that space. But ultimately, what Zeev's saying here is it's really H2H, and I think we give credit to Ryan Dice for bringing that to the sort of the popular front. H2H is really human to human, people to people, is what Zeev's saying. And I think Ryan also talks about people buy from people they know, like, and trust, and and like I say, that you get on the phone, you see what we have a terminology here, Zeev, what said we want to see the white of their eyeballs. You see the white of their eyes. If you genuinely believe that you can help these people, then why not ask for the sale and get and have mutual shared value out of it. The relationship.
Can I add something?
Yeah, sure.
So this goes back to all the social selling and sharing things. So human beings learn from looking at another human being, share something with them with voice, facial expressions, yada yada yada.
Yeah.
So our minds are not that sophisticated. Okay, they're really not. So when you and I are sitting here talking over video, intellectually, yeah, you can say, oh yeah, I'm talking to Zeev on video, but your mind cannot distinguish. Okay, it cannot. It starts recognizing my facial features. It starts recognizing the facial things I do, the expressions. Okay, so next time, let's say you and I meet in some networking event. I have a speaking in the UK in a few months. You will think and feel like you know me.
Of course.
Okay, so it happened to me many times, I'm sure to your listeners as well. You go on the airport, you see someone and you know him, you smile, you're like, oh, and it's a guy from Top Chef or from the news or from, you've seen him on the TV a couple of times and now you know him.
Yeah.
So we know that if we get someone to see Mike talking on his podcast 3 times, they kind of become a fan. Yeah. Okay. And if we continue doing that and they watch 5, you become a celebrity. Absolutely. And now they'll want to listen to what you do. They'll want to. So there's another aspect of the giving that helps your business. You're building a persona out there. You're giving out so much good things and people are listening to you. So next time they want to do something in marketing, they'll probably call you. Yeah. Or they'll think of you. So you're creating a lot of these familiarities in people's minds. And that's something that I think is crucial.
Yeah, and that goes back to the LinkedIn. For example, I give you a live example. I've got a regular listener to the show. He's a personal friend of mine, Simon Doder. He used to work for Microsoft. He works for Dell now, Dell, the computer company. So, hey, Si, if you're listening, I know you're listening. So when this goes out, you're listening. He sends me a message on LinkedIn just a few weeks ago. Hey, Mike, great. I've not kept in touch for a while. And that's because I'd said, hey, congratulations on the move from Microsoft to Dell. Just a courtesy message, nothing for that. I'd do that if I saw him in the street. Why wouldn't I do it on LinkedIn? It's just a quick and easy way to see it pop up. We started a conversation going. At the end of it, he said, hey, Mike, loving the podcast, really liking that. So, he's building that. He knows me. But ultimately then, about 3 or 4 days later, because we'd got that conversation going again after it had gone static for a while and far too long, we hadn't spoke. He'd got a recommendation for something, and he knew I obviously used to be heavily involved in wheeled asset finance. And he said, and one of his connections wanted a referral for a wheeled asset finance deal. And he said, and he just put in, hey, Mike, Midgley, you'll know somebody who can help with this. So he's thinking of me, not necessarily for what I do core, because obviously there, but just because he knows I can connect, and I am a connector. I help and give value and things like that. So of course I jumped on and I made a recommendation to Mark McLaughlin at Keyfleet as the only person I would recommend. So just out of that little re-engagement there, he's not only thinking of me because he knows of what I've done in the past, but also there. But that could easily translate to if he's somebody was out there saying, hey, I'm really looking for a great agency, or they're looking to really get results, then, if Simon's already recommending me to place and connect with somebody that in an industry I'm no longer in, then he's going to do that heavily as well for an industry that I am in. And then that's where that lead flow and the amount of deals that we call it deal flow, the amount of deals that come across the desk, we can't take them all. Some we can help, some we can't. that it becomes a pleasure then to go to work and you start to do what you love. And, that goes back also to linking into, giving that value out. And myself and Zeev have probably spent, an hour and 40 on this. It's been a bit of a marathon one, and I'm extremely appreciative of your time for staying on and sharing so much value. But yeah, it's just how that goes round all the time, doesn't it?
It does, I'll kind of share something that I believe in too. We said ask and we shall receive. So I want to share everybody, and I want to ask everybody to go on gobreathe.com, GOBRETH. I am involved with a project that is exciting me to the fibers of my being. I've been a father for 5 years now, and 5 years ago I could not care less about quality of air. I thought it was invincible. I've been studying a lot about indoor air quality. And Mike, I'm not going to gross you out with what I can tell you, but it is disgusting. Our indoor air qualities are 5 times worse than the outdoor air. And it's not that the outdoor air is that good. Yeah. We move into building more efficiently and more tight spaces and really blocking the air, and we're breathing awful air. Yeah. So I want everybody that listens to your show, please go to GoBreathe, GOBRETH.com, and tell me what you think. Yeah. Also, I want you to take a look at all the marketing that we've done, all the digital, all the creative. We've done so much for this project, and I would love your opinion. And what I'm going to do, Mike, is I'll send you a Breathe as a present from us, and I would love for you to kind of tell me how you feel with it. It's such an amazing product.
I'm really appreciative. We'd love one in the Success Hub office here. And what I would be doing is we'll do you a case study and a video on it and how it's changed, and we'll put that out as a gift. So and as a thank you. So not that I ever do these type of shows for the gain of it. I do it for the value. But we'd love to look at it, check it out, and we'll give you as honest feedback. And we'll do a video. We'll share it out with the audience. And again, so I can only echo that. Before we came on air with Zeev, we'd looked at some videos because I wanted to get abreast of it, because like probably many of the listeners, indoor air quality and the purification, it's not top of my knowledge list, if I'm being totally honest. But when you see some of the things that these guys doing, and especially the scientific tests that they've done to sort of make this work, and the data stats behind it, it will blow your mind. So I fully concur. If you go to www.org and drop that off and just go to GoBreathe, GOBRETH.com. Zeev's laid you down a challenge. I'd like you to take him up on it. You can connect with him on LinkedIn. Let him know how you go. And of course, if you want to improve your air quality, and this is not really a show to pitch things, but if you do want it and you like what you see, I recommend you buy it. I think they start from as little as $99. So in the UK, that's about £65. What price do you put on the quality of the air you and your family breathe? So go check it out. If you like it, let Zeev know how you go. Then that's gobreathe.com. So Zeev, I cannot even, I'm just so humbled to and appreciative about the time that you've invested with us today. And I know we've covered such a different spectrum all around how digital and strategies and sales and social. So if we were to condense it down, it's probably impossible, but if I could ask you to condense it down, I always try and do for the end of the show, like 3 pro tips that people could sort of get, that they could take away, and whether they hire an agency or not, whether they go and try and have a go themselves, maybe they're just getting started, or get their internal team working. If I were to ask you to sort of share 3 pro tips of what we've discussed today on a condensed basis, how would you frame that out for people to take action?
Great. So my first tip is strategize.
Yep.
Think, do audits, strategize, beta test. So many people do so many things online that don't work.
Yep.
So many people hire someone straight out of college and tell them, hey, you're my social media manager because you like social media. It doesn't work at all. You really need a strategy, a plan, and you need to test things out. Yeah. I am very successful at what I do, yet I'm 50% wrong. Okay? I let the data dictate. I'm not too smart to learn. And that's another thing. That's tip number 2. Our industry is ever changing. I will go out on a limb and say there is no expert in our industry. Yeah. I think you need to put 10,000 hours into something, and things are changing in such rapid rate. Nobody has 10,000 hours on anything. So continuously learn. Bring in people that like certain things and have them grow in those capacities.
Right.
We are a baby of an industry. That's why it makes it so exciting, but you gotta grow and learn. New things are coming up every day.
Yeah.
And then the third tip, I think we went over it already. Just remember, business has been business a lot before the internet started. Business has been business a lot before Facebook has started. And like we said, both of us, people like to do business with people they like and trust. And I added make them laugh as well. So make sure that if there's a chance, make your clients feel better. Be a human. We said H to H, right? Human to human sales.
Yep.
In the end of the day, it's all about humans. The best things and unfortunately the worst thing in life will come from humans. And I'll end this with the last thing. And that's why I put that push on breathe. Ask and you shall receive. If you want something, ask for it. You know, Mike, you came to me and you wanted to do a podcast, and I was extremely humbled and I wanted to do it. Yet I'm working on this Breathe product. So I will make sure that in this, I at least talk about this beautiful thing, and I will ask people to take advantage. So those are my 3 tips. And I think you're doing such a great service to people out there, Mike. And I love listening to your podcast. And I really wanted to thank you for asking me to be on.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure, and you've added so much value, Zeev. I can't thank you enough. You know, getting what I call top contributors, high-level influencers on the show. You know, the days that I record the podcasts with things like this, you know, I'm buzzing. It transfers the energy to my team. It transfers the energy to my family. You know, they say, "Oh, you had a great podcast with Zeev today." Yeah, I learned about this, and then I go and show them the offers that they've got, whether it's this or that, and like the Go Breathe thing. And I'll go and show that. They're super excited to learn more about that. And it does. And as I say, I can't thank you enough. So, you know, adopt these type of strategies, guys. Whether you like my style, you like Zeev's, you've got your own, doesn't matter. Go and be authentic, you know, and also take those pro tips that Zeev's put on there. So the value you've provided, Zeev, is outstanding. I'm also humbled to have you on the show. Thank you very much indeed. And again, just a quick recap. If you wanted to learn more, you can connect with Zeev on linkedin.com/IN /Zeev Wexler, but spelled Zeev Wexler, Wexler. So it sounds like Zeev, but it's Zeev. You can do WexlerLLC.com for the company, the work we're doing there. And of course, don't forget, go and take Zeev up on his opportunity to go promote GoBreathe.com at GOBRETH.com. Zeev, any final thoughts from you before we wrap up on the show? Because it's been awesome. Thank you.
Just thank you. And everybody, just ask questions, learn, and, you know, be brave. Mistakes are part of business. Failure is a part of success. I have failed more times than I care to share with you, and I will fail again. So it's somebody said it, I think maybe Rocky. It's not how hard you hit, it's how hard you can be hit, and stand up and learn and do value. As long as you put the value of our clients above anything else, you will be successful.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Well, thank you very much indeed, Zeev. Again, your time's extremely valuable. I understand that, and we certainly appreciate you coming on the show. So thanks for tuning in, guys. I hope you've had some serious value. We'll post all the links below, and we certainly appreciate you tuning in to the Open Mic podcast. And as always, to get in the game and learn more about digital marketing and this human selling, go to the hustle, go make it happen, and we're going to see you on next week's show.
You have been listening to The Open Mic, brought to you by The Success Hub. To find out more and to get the resources we have mentioned in this podcast episode, simply visit blog.thesuccesshub.io and view the podcast section. Thanks for listening, and we look forward to catching up with you in our next episode. This podcast and associated materials is published under copyright to The Success Hub. All rights reserved. No reproduction of this material is permitted.